What about it's like Dan Helsing?
Yeah, Dan.
I like Dan Helsing.
That's really good. I just love it. No offense to Dan, like one of my best friends, Dan, but it's such a boring name for a...
Dan and Rick are the two most boring names.
A vampire hunter.
Dan and Rick are absolutely the two funniest boring names.
So is Nicolas Cage's character named Rick?
Yep. Rick Vampire. Rikula. Count Rikula.
Rikula. I like a guy named Count Rikula changing his name to Rick.
It's Rick.
That's so dumb.
And Dan Helsing can talk about how like it wasn't that hard to find you.
Hey everyone, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Seth.
And welcome back to the Writer's Room Game Show. It's the podcast where every week we generate an original feature film idea from scratch in under 60 minutes, working from a set of random prompts given to us by a big Hollywood studio. Seth, my man.
Ryan, my man.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
To rumble!
I said I was ready. You can't say what it is after the person's already committed to it. You can't.
So sorry. I'm very excited today about our podcast. It's Friday. I'm feeling good.
I am feeling good.
If you're tuning in, usually in these intros, we tell you to...
go to hell.
call our hotline, check out the Discord. I actually thought it'd be fun if we started these shows with a little question from our listeners. You can go onto our Discord, find in the show notes, leave us some questions. We'll talk about them on the show. But one of our lovely listeners, Ryan Summers, who is, I think, called in before. Yes,
Hooray.
He did. For Karma, he left
It's
a really long,
Ryan
awesome
Summers.
idea.
Hang on. Let the crowd finish cheering. Okay. All right.
Oh, wow. That's their very roaring, loud crowd there.
It's anytime Ryan Summers. See, whenever we say his name.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, they cheer.
He left us a great question in the Discord, which, like I said, you can join the Discord and write stuff. We don't care. Just great question that I thought was great for me and you talked about before I start the show. Is there a composer out? I think I have my answer, but is there a composer out there, famous composer that you would work with and want to have a partnership a la John Williams and Steven Spielberg or Danny Elfman and Tim Burton? What composer would you want to partner up with and work with for all of your films, and most of your films for the rest of your career?
So you have to just assume that the amount that you feel you would creatively vibe would be true, and also that it would be matched in personality, like vibe, like social vibes. Because you know that it's a cocktail always of like your personality's vibing as well as
totally.
Oh, what's yours?
I think mine would probably be Daniel Pemberton because
we all love the Pim.
We all love so the Pim. Seth Worley. I think what I love about Daniel Pemberton, other than just like vibing with most of the scores that he makes, he has such a diverse set of styles that he works within, from Into the Spider-Verse, which is this weird sort of...
And he goes deep into it.
Yes. And then we have like Man from U.N.C.L.E., which is one of my favorite underrated gems, that he's doing this sort of cool European caper kind of vibe. And then, we have Steve Jobs, which of course
that's one of my favorite scores.
Three different genres of scores based on the act of the film that's in. Like, there's so many different things that he's made, and I love how creative he is within the bounds of a movie score. And he seems like he'd be a really cool guy. So, I mean, like you said, it really all depends on, I'm more about like, if I like working with them, regardless of their skill, like I want to work with them again and again.
I think Pemberton is the answer for me too, because of his range, because like you said, his range, like he's clearly proven he's been able to pull off because I could give you different answers for this depending on whatever genre I was tackling or whatever the story was. And Pemberton's the one that just like, he's done so much, like so many different genres and sounds. And yeah, you're right. It's probably Pim. It's the Pim.
The Pim. The Pim is the answer. And just like that, the studio is calling with, I assume, another assignment. I'm going to answer the call. Here we go. Ghostbusters, answer the call. Here we go. Hello? Hey, studio, how's it going? Yeah, of course. No, I'm confident we're going to sell it this week, for sure. That's what I said last week? Oh, forget about that. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Bye. As usual, they emailed you the assignment, Seth. I'm looking forward to hearing what it is.
All right, so our genre today is action. We'll be writing an action film.
Hey, right up my alley, baby.
The tone of this action film needs to be maximalist. So
So like Michael Bay or like...
I guess so. Sounds like Bayham to me.
Yeah.
The demographic, brothers. You need to write this for brothers everywhere.
Nice. We both have brothers.
We both have brothers. The mandate, this is a good one. This is from our pal LA Nick, long-time listener, many-time caller, many-time Discorder. We lost a bet with Nicolas Cage and now have to offer him a role in your film. That's from the studio.
I feel like that's winning the bet.
I feel, yes, that's winning the bet. Wow. Do we just basically have to write The Rock or any like Nicolas Cage? I don't know why I went straight to The Rock, but
I mean, he's in it and it's in Michael Bay. So
yeah, it's a maximalist action movie for brothers starring Nicolas Cage.
It's actually it's still pretty broad. Let's hear. So have you done the idea generator?
So the pre-existing ideas we are bringing to the table that if we can work these into the script, we will get 2 extra points at the end per idea, but these are not mandatory. A horrible secret.
Okay.
An iPod that plays only one song. A vampire.
All Maximalist, I feel like, can fit under
that. Someone fired from a job.
Easy, done.
And the meaning of life.
Dude, we're using all 5 this episode.
All of these.
Dude, we have a horrible secret and vampire. That is the horrible secret, is that you're a vampire. That's easy.
That's so true. I have an idea involving the iPod that only plays one song.
The Writer's Room game show has begun.
Here we go, baby. We have 50 minutes on the clock.
Hit the soundboard. Oh, you did. You already did.
You've already forgot that was 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, well, you know.
I'm liking this. I want to hear you first. Tell me your idea with the iPod that only plays one song before we get into the plot stuff.
Actually, well, okay, I was wrong. There was an idea for a short that, speaking of brothers, my brother Ben Worley had this idea like 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. If a guy found a radio station that only played film score and it happened to score his life and it was getting scarier and scarier as the day went on and he was getting more and more nervous.
Mm-hmm. That sounds like multiple songs.
Yeah, it sounds like multiple songs. It's not related whatsoever.
But it's a fun idea, for sure.
So iPod that only plays one song.
Also, that's definitely a fun Ben idea.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I'm thinking of the music from the original Plot Device short and how it's like
it directly
playing with the
influenced
genres, you know.
Plot Device. It directly, it was like, well, what if we have a button, what if we did a version of that? That's how Plot Device kind of came about. Anyway, okay, so a horrible secret that you're a vampire. Nicolas Cage is a guy who is a vampire, but doesn't want anyone to know.
This is probably the one where the ideas, I feel like, because the idea, a Nick Cage maximalist action movie for brothers, it's pretty broad.
It's just execution. It's not even like, yeah.
But the ideas, I feel like this is a great starting point. Like this is a great way to start. Because I'm like, yeah, Nick Cage is a vampire who's lived forever or like lived since, Transylvania back in the 1600s or whatever.
Yeah.
That is interesting to me, and now it's modern times.
Well, I'm not a fan of gothic horror, like the whole like vampire, the visual motifs of vampire movies just aren't really my thing. Bag. I was a huge Buffy fan and Angel, the spinoff.
Yeah.
But that was also like very modern at the time. Mm-hmm, and a lot of it hasn't aged super well for me. Not even counting
Joss Whedon?
Not even counting Joss Whedon. But like, I hesitate to do...
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm not super attached to it. But it is...
But I love the idea of a guy who's if there's a way we can do an action movie with a vampire, but if he can be the only vampire in the story. Like, I don't want a bunch of other vampires.
Yes, yeah, totally. I agree. I'm not like crazy about us making like a Blade movie where it's like someone killing a bunch of other vampires.
I think that's what I'm afraid of doing is a Blade movie. Yeah.
I think it's fine if it's like a vampire in a modern like Michael Bay action movie, and that's the vampire-ness of it is like basically him being eternal or him being immortal or whatever. It can be part of it. And I like the idea of Nick Cage as this sad guy. He gets fired from his job. It's like a desk job. He's done all this crazy action movie stuff throughout eternity, and now he just like wants to live.
That's fun.
He wants to live a normal life. He gets fired. He's like a sad sack, and he gets wrapped up in this action movie. And he's like, I guess I'm back, back to square one. And he's like this
Square
amazing.
Run.
He's
back to this club called Square Run. That
and he's
wait a minute.
He's running. So, he's on his run, listening to his iPod with only one song.
So he's like John Wick, but if John Wick was immortal, like or lived, had eternal life, and only weakness was a stake through the heart and probably sunlight.
I guess that makes sense for a vampire, right? Unless we're doing like the weird Daywalker Blade thing, which I feel like
was
that's bending
Daywalkers.
the
I thought
rules.
Twilight was also had like their sparkly daywalking.
I guess he was always in the shade. That was the thing. Like,
No, I mean,
it's overcast.
Oh yeah, but they sparkled whenever they were in the.
Yeah, has that been overdone? Like the Eternal Warrior, who's like in modern day and doesn't want to like.
It's okay if it's been overdone. What's our fresh take on it and way of making fun of it? Like what I do like is the idea that the utilitarian.
It's one
benefits,
last job for someone who's been doing the jobs for thousands of years.
How many last jobs? If we call it one last job and we show that he's had, basically he's a guy who is consistently flashing back to many of his one last jobs.
Yes,
and
that's so good. I kind of
every job is one last job, and because like the utilitarian benefits of being a vampire and being like immortal to anything but stake through the heart would make it to where like he'd be a really good soldier and a really good hitman and a really good like anything involving violence. So it would be borderline like boring to him, the fact that like, and I guess does he just like regenerate when he's shot?
It's got to be something like that. I don't know the typical vampire.
But I like that he doesn't do vampire stuff.
Yes, he was over that like after immediately. He's like, yeah, I'm not really into the blood thing. Maybe
6 months.
He maybe his blood. He like I don't even like the fact like him drinking blood. It's like kind of gross to me.
No, I like it being gross to him too. Like it just is
like he just has to buy like animal blood or something. Like he doesn't even like the slaughtering of it. So
he has to mix stuff into it too because he doesn't like how it tastes.
He's pouring like protein powder in it or something like weird stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that.
He's drinking what we think is red Kool-Aid, but yeah,
because it is. Because he pours Kool-Aid in with the blood because he can't stand the taste of blood.
Yes, I love the idea of this one last job because we can easily see a montage at some point of all of these one last jobs. It's him, in. I don't know, back in like Roman times or something, like fighting wars. We can see him as, it's all these famous battles throughout history or something. And then we get into him being a hitman or, whatever it is, robbing a bank, like all this different like criminal kind of stuff that we usually see in action movies.
Yeah. And so what's this one last job then though? What makes it different?
There's got to be some sort of link to some of these other jobs throughout history that comes back. Yeah, man.
Maybe there are no other vampires left.
The last vampire.
The bad guy is, or like male or female, is a slayer, a vampire slayer, like a Van Helsing type. It is Van Helsing. It is a descendant of Van Helsing.
Van Helsing. Yes. Vince Helsing.
And they have Vince Helsing. Vince Helsing has vanished. Has vanquished the earth of all vampires. He's the only one left. He is the one last job of Vince Helsing. So everyone is on one last job.
Oh my God. That is incredible. And I like the idea of now he's just like, maybe he has already had his one last job, just like he's trying to live a normal life, like always. He's at this job, boring desk job. It's got to be some sort of pun on him being a vampire too. Like if it's I don't know, that'd be too Dexter. I'm thinking like if he was a blood splatter analyst or something, but that is literally Dexter.
Or a dentist.
A dentist? Yeah, something like that.
Because of teeth, fangs.
Oh, yes, that is great.
I don't know about great. It's something.
But, he gets fired just because that's one of our ideas.
I kind of like the idea of the Vince Helsing finding him and coming after him.
Yes. Well, maybe his job, the last job, is he's got to try to kill Vince Helsing before Vince Helsing kills him. Kind of thing.
Vince Helsing. What about it's like Dan Helsing?
So now we're kind of like in this, like, Dan.
I like Dan Helsing.
That's really good. I just love it. No offense to Dan, like one of my best friends, Dan, but it's such a boring name for a...
Dan and Rick are the two most boring names.
A vampire hunter. Dan
and Rick are absolutely the two funniest boring names.
So is Nicolas Cage's character named Rick?
Yep. Rick Vampire. Rikula. Count Rikula.
Rikula. I like a guy named Count Rikula changing his name to Rick.
It's Rick.
That's so dumb.
And Dan Helsing can talk about how like it wasn't that hard to find you because you changed. It's like the whole Shang-Chi thing.
Yeah, yes.
Of Sean.
Yeah, I love that. And now we sort of have like a face-off. Well, another Nicolas Cage reference, like a face-off style action movie where it's like these two people that are just destined to kill each other. They
both work at the same office and they Dan Helsing discovers his secret. Like, Count Rikula discovers...
They've both given up on their destined, what they were supposed to be doing. Him being a vampire, turning other people into vampires, him hunting the vampires. They've just
And he's got to be a young guy, too, because he doesn't want to be like his dad. And the older guy is like just tired of trying.
Oh, but if Nick Cage is Rick...
Count Rikula, we just cast a super young dude.
But I guess he would have to become a vampire and his older age like Nick Cage. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But yes, I love that.
Like Nick Cage did? Is that what you just said? Yeah, he had to become, a vampire in his older age, just like what happened to Nicolas Cage.
I would love
famously.
if that was reality, honestly.
I think it is. So we can start in an office, like
and you can
mundane...
totally you can talk about the meaning of life in that, because it's them going, they're trying to go against what they feel like they were destined to do in their life, to do something that they were more passionate about, because both of them are not passionate about what the action movie stuff, but they're like the best at what they do.
I don't know about the best at what they do, but like...
Yeah, but you get what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
I actually really like this now because you can do a lot of fun, like emotional kind of silly stuff while also having like a badass action movie storyline.
It's very stupid, but also there's some very real emotion. Like there's some very real human themes here and emotionally resonant stuff. Like, I think so. Count Rikula.
Here's my thing though. Do we, in a lot of these movies that, let's say if it's Godzilla versus Kong, Captain America Civil War, Batman versus Superman, the list goes on, these people that are opposites that are against each other, a lot of these movies, they end up by the end realizing that there's a bigger threat. There's a threat that's bigger than both of them that they go against at the end. Is there something like that we would want to do with this? Because I think after talking the last few minutes, I feel like we can empathize with both of these characters and want them to be able to, for this to be their one last job.
Yeah.
So if there's a greater threat that they can face together, that could be kind of fun. I just don't know what that would be at this moment.
Let me see. So by the way, I just put Dan Helsing. He didn't continue his family legacy, but he can make his dad proud of him. Make his dad or dad /
we have to see like a photo
proud.
That's like... Or like a wall of photos that's all the Helsings, the vampire hunters throughout the years. and the first Van Helsing is literally Hugh Jackman, so it exists in that universe.
Oh, that's perfect. I love it. And so, and Rick, he's always hated being a vampire. That's just not his thing.
Blood sucks.
Okay, that's so funny. It's so dumb.
Not sucking blood.
Exactly.
Blood sucks. There's got to be something else besides him just hating being the vampire.
I mean,
it's a classic
he's so
thing. All of his friends die. Yeah.
Yeah.
He feels alone. Just wants to live a normal life.
Well, and I don't know why he can't kill himself.
I mean, by the end, he could be Dan Helsing's about to kill him. He just kill me. Like, I've never wanted to be a vampire anyways. And Dan can't do it, maybe. Just because that's a whole...
Who's our common villain? Satan?
The authorities?
Blackbeard? We bring Blackbeard in from Santaverse.
He walks through a portal.
We'll set it up and into the Santaverse. Like Loki. We won't know what happened to him.
Man, yeah, that's tough. Because I feel like that would be interesting, right? To have like them team up by the end.
No, 100%. Like the third act is them versus...
Is there a werewolf? Would be a werewolf? I feel like vampires and werewolves go hand in hand, but...
Yeah, but the idea is that the Helsings have vanquished the earth of all... Maybe that's why Dan Helsing can't make his parents proud, is because his family just killed all the monsters and there are no more monsters left, supposedly.
And that's when he finds out about...
Yeah.
Rick is in the break room drinking blood.
Or he takes a sip of his drink by accident and he's like, there's blood? What is this? I was just going to start playing John Williams' score from Dracula from 1979 because talking about scores, this score absolutely rules.
Wait, did he do Bram Stoker's Dracula?
No, he did. It was just called Dracula, and it was 1979.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
We're just going to listen to a little bit of it. When it gets going, it sounds like the Outer Limits theme.
Oh, yeah.
I'm putting on a long coat, and I'm walking through the night to this music.
Oh, that's good.
So if we combine that with some good action music. Yeah. Oh, man. Now I'm just looking for action music. Okay, so...
Oh. We are getting a fax from the studio with the wildcard mandate. Not getting it on my side, Seth. Something coming through for you?
Yeah.
All right. What did we get?
We have to phone a friend to ask for a wild card mandate.
Okay. Phone a friend.
The studio is just being mean. They're just trolling us now.
I guess I could call someone else. That'd be okay.
This is a new wild card mandate we put in the system and have not gotten yet, but are going to. We could get it several times throughout this season. Who should we call?
Let's see. Who should we call? Maybe someone who's been on the show before.
Do you actually have someone?
I actually don't. I didn't know it comes so fast.
I can make a call to. We can call my wife. We can call Arlie.
Let's do it.
Okay.
You got to do it through your computer, though.
Yeah, I can do it. I have technology. I'm just the person. Well, phone is not configured to allow calls using this Mac. She said, nope, no way. Call someone else. I'm trying one more person. I really want one of these people to pick up. Oh, Arlie said fine. She'll do it. Okay. Hi.
Hello.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm fine.
Please welcome to the show, my wife, Arlie.
This is one of my favorite guests already.
Hello, everybody.
So here's the deal. Our mandate said, hey, call someone and get the wildcard mandate from them. So you have to give us just any mandate you want for this movie we're writing. I'm not going to tell you anything about what it's about.
Okay. Someone has to get sucked into a vacuum cleaner.
Okay. Thanks. Love you. Bye.
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 All right.
Someone has to get sucked into a vacuum cleaner.
Thank you to Arlie Worley for that incredible wildcard mandate.
I know exactly how.
So we're Honey, I Shrunk the Kidsing.
No. No. Do you remember in Buffy the Vampire Slayer when vampires died, they fell to ash?
Unfortunately, that's a great idea, but no, I have not. I've seen like 2 episodes of Buffy.
Oh.
We literally started the show on Netflix, and the day later, they removed it from Netflix. I think it's on Hulu now, but we just haven't restarted it. But that is an incredible idea because, yeah, vampire can get stabbed at the stake and then vacuumed up.
So it can either happen to our main bad guy if there is a, bad guy who is also a vampire. Mm-hmm. And it can also just be like a memory, like a flashback memory to something that happened to another vampire at some point.
What if Dan Helsing's, there's a distant relative that is a Helsing that is also a vampire, and he's been in hiding or something, like he disappeared, but there's a big twist that Rick isn't the final vampire, but there's a Helsing that is also a vampire.
Stan Helsing.
Stan Helsing. You found a name more boring than Dan. It was Stan.
A name more boring than Dan. Stan.
I don't know. Maybe that's just like a twist for a twist's sake, but no.
No, this whole movie is Maximalist, man. Remember?
That's true.
Maximalist.
That's true. We got to start coming up with some set pieces soon.
Oh, crap. Okay, so I'm thinking just massive explosions in a city. Oh, well, first off, I want a big old fight in an office between Vampire and Dan, between Rick and Dan.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like when they realize and they have to it's been years since they've done anything like this, but they immediately get back into that mode and then there's a big battle. Just ripping apart this doctor's office, or part of me wants them to be like accountants or something. But
100%. I want them to be accountants. I want them working in this mundane, boring office, and it turns out they are the descendant of Van Helsing and a vampire, and they're going to fight. Rikula. And they're going to discuss the meaning of life. Now, should his name really be Count Rikula, or should it be something that Dan Helsing calls him to mess with him?
I don't know. There's something about him being called Rick. It's like the Shang-Chi thing. It's really funny to me.
So his name really was Count Rikula. That's really
if it's Dracula's son or something.
Okay, that's not how names work, just so you know. But I get it.
Son of Drac.
Well,
Drac's
wow.
son.
Yes.
It's Rikula Drac's son.
His name wasn't Draxon Eula, and his name was literally...
Well, no, he has to become a vampire when he's in his older age, too, so I don't think he should be a descendant of a famous vampire.
No, he shouldn't be, but he was a count, whatever that means.
I'm sorry, dude. Okay, so what if we start our movie, we're in a normal guy's life. Well, maybe it should actually, most of these big action movies start with a big set piece. So maybe it's...
Oh, it's Stan. It's Stan Helsing.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's interesting. Now we kind of have a dual protagonist. It's not like a protagonist-antagonist. We sort of have these two characters that we
Well, it's the fugitive, right? It's Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, and Stan.
And Stan is the one who the one who switched the samples. That's
yes.
You switched the samples after Lentz died.
Let's stay calm, people.
After Lentz died, you were the only one who had the access. You switch the samples and the pathology reports.
And yes, the final showdown will be at like a big fundraising event.
It's the least maximalist thing we could have done, but it still should be. So what if Stan basically, to accomplish whatever goal, he has to be the last remaining vampire. And to be
Rick?
No,
sorry,
Stan.
Yes.
Rick doesn't know or care about this thing that Stan is trying to do or the rules.
Oh, you're saying we start with Stan and we don't know he's a Helsing yet?
Correct.
At the beginning?
Correct.
And then the big twist is he's a descendant, or Dan is a descendant of this guy who's actually a Helsing.
Yes. So we open on this guy trying to complete his task and find, we open on him like
Revolutionary War era.
No, we open on him like Tokyo or somewhere. And he busts into this nightclub and into the back and takes out a bunch of these dudes and stuff just so he could get to this one person who knows all about the occult and etc., some expert, and has the information he needs. And that information is that, why won't this amulet work? Blah, blah, blah. It needs the blood of the last remaining vampires.
You're just coming up with as much Blade-esque ideas as possible.
I said I didn't want any, but now I'm, but I put him in
there's a John Wick fight scene that leads him to that.
Exactly.
Where he talks about amulet. Yeah.
This amulet.
It's more John Wick than Blade.
And they're like, why won't it work? And she takes it did you try shaking it? And then did you put, it's the stupidest dad joke ever. And he's like, the person, she's like, it needs the blood of the last living vampires. And he's like, I am the last one. Dragonheart.
And then the guy's like, I don't think so. And then Stan stabs him with the stake and he, falls to ash.
Oh, nice.
And he's like, now I am, or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then puts it vacuums him up or something and puts the blood in. But then it's no, there must be more or something.
Yeah.
And so he has to find the last.
He puts his blood in and it still doesn't work. And that's when he's like, he says some one-liner about there being more vampires. And that's when it cuts the title, One Last Job.
Oh, what if
it's his last job too.
What if it's everyone's last job? What if he is not just busting a nightclub? What if he's being chased by Rand Helsing or something?
Rand Helsing,
Dan's dad, and we see this Helsing get murdered. The discussion can happen if I know why your amulet's not working. It's because you think you're the last one, or it should be working, but it's he thinks, so he's chased. Okay, sorry, it's
what if he's being chased by Anne Helsing?
Okay, by Anne Helsing, perfect. His mom,
Dan's mom, yeah.
And
who's played Jamie Lee Curtis or something,
500%, right? So Anne Helsing chases down Stan Helsing. We don't learn yet that Stan Helsing is a Helsing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we don't learn that later till Dan is like, Uncle Stan? So Anne chases down Stan, but she can't stop him before he puts his blood in the amulet. And when he does it, nothing happens. And she's like, you must not be the only last one. And he kills her and then now knows he has to go find the other one.
What's really interesting about that too is because she knows that's her brother-in-law or whatever. They know each other really well. We think it's just because it's she's been hunting him and he's the villain of her movie or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's this big, they never reveal who they are.
Yeah.
He kills her.
Well, he kills her right as they both discover that he's not the last living vampire. He kills her and is like, now I got to find the last living vampire, the other last living vampire or something witty. And then later we see Dan, we meet Dan whenever he's like,
that's it. Cuts the title. And when we get out of title, it's just the normal life.
And Dan finds out pretty soon after that his mom died.
Damn. Yeah, that sucks.
It does suck. It's sad. And Count Rikula's like, I'm sorry, man. That sucks. I've lost a lot of people.
They're like friends, at the office. I've lost a lot of people. And then we can kind of jump back and forth. I wonder when we should find out though, because originally I was thinking we kind of start with Rikula and it'd be with Rick and it'd be his story. But now that we're sort of starting with a Helsing and there's kind of that stuff, when we should find out that he's a vampire, maybe it's when Dan finds out, when he realizes it, he's drinking blood or something. That's when we find out. And then we get a big flashback montage of his life. Maybe he's telling Dan a story or something and they're, we're getting a...
No, what if we cut from the Stan and Anne prologue?
Prologue, yeah.
He's like,
we're definitely maximalist with the names, that's for sure.
Uh-huh. He says something to help us transition, something about where are you, other vampire, and then cut to something, the good version of that. And we cut to Nick Cage, Count Rikula, Count Nicula, and now we're with him for the remainder of the story.
Yeah, it's
and
it says, where are you, other vampire? And then it just hard cuts to a name tag. just
And it's
says like Rick or
yes,
something, or
and it's
on
Max.
his desk.
Here's what's weird: he needs to have voiceover narration, like first-person narration. But
I'm thinking
like Blade
about that
Runner
terrible
style.
action movie that I loved as a middle school, high school student called Wanted.
Oh,
Did you see that?
Wow,
With
you
James
were middle
McAvoy?
school, high school for Wanted. Yeah, I was well into adulthood when Wanted came out. I did not actually ever see it. It looked distasteful.
It was a similar thing. James McAvoy is like in an office, and then he eventually becomes this, killer or whatever. But yeah, I could definitely see like a voiceover of him.
Can you go into voiceover after you've had a prologue where the character wasn't there?
We can make our own rules here.
We will. Oh wait, yeah, you can, because Blade Runner did it in the original cut.
People. Oh yeah, yeah. So cuts to Rick in the office.
It sucks being a vampire when you don't want to be a vampire.
And we have like a classic montage scene where it's just like going through the years. He's talking about his life, upbeat music.
He's just like, I wasn't always the 7th district accountant for blah, blah, blah,
For some reason, I'm thinking
blah.
of Peter B. Parker, where it's like kind of cheerful, but also sad and like funny. This whole montage.
500%. Peter B. Parker's a great reference.
That's great too, because we can go through that whole montage and to pick it up.
I just remembered sitting in my apartment doing crunches, getting strong. I forgot that narration from.
Flash forward, I'm in my apartment doing push-ups, doing ab crunches, getting strong.
It's so good. But that's great because we can do that whole montage and then rejoin him, and then we're just in the life of his office. This other character, just Dan Helsi. Dan. It's funny to, in a modern life, someone's last name being Helsing and being just totally fine with it.
Okay, we are now offended people named Dan, Stan, Rick, and people whose last name are Helsing.
I've yet to meet a Helsing in my life, but surely they're out there.
Oh, you haven't lived till you've met a Helsing. They're wonderful people.
And we are introduced to that character when they're told, or when they find out that their mom has died. And we put two and two together. It's like, that's, what's her face? And that's how we meet him. I guess,
he can recognize, he shows him her picture and he's like, yeah, this is me and her. And he recognizes her, and in his voiceover, he can be like, and flash back to, de-aged Jamie Lee Curtis down to like, Halloween years.
Yes. Big action scene in the flashback.
Yeah. Huge action scene.
Yes.
And oh, that's good.
Oh, and we got Horrible Secret too in our idea pile, which that's easy. That could be Stan. That could be.
Well, it's also that he's a vampire. That's the Horrible Secret. Yeah. Remember? What about the iPod? Plays only one
and
song.
Fire from Job. That's easy too, because they have a big fight in the job, and then the fight's over, and then the manager walks in. He's like, "Obviously, you're fired." Yeah, so we get a big action scene with D.H. Jamie Lee Curtis. We're back to current day. I guess maybe we should go with, I don't really know plot-wise what we're doing here, but maybe...
Well, Stan wants the meaning of life.
With the only thing with Stan is I feel like we've kind of lost the emotional core of Rick and Dan, but I feel like we could still get there.
No, because Stan doesn't come in until well after the midpoint. He doesn't come until the end of... So if you have 8 sequences, A and B are the first act, C, D are the first half of Act 2 before the midpoint.
I feel like that's when C and D, like
C and D is the fun of that's Dan versus Rick. Those two sequences are all about Rick versus Dan. And then E is when they're getting to know each other. They actually are like starting to possibly bond or get to know each other, or like they're forced to, like, they're stuck together somewhere. And we bring Stan into the story at the very end of that, and Stan becomes the main villain for F, G, and H.
I agree.
So we don't lose. Yeah, we're not losing the promise of the premise.
Yes. So yeah, we have our big.
We're saving cats.
Act 2. Those. I'm getting confused by Stan and Dan, and we have Dan finding out that Rick is a vampire. Big fight sequence, one-on-one kind of thing in the office. Papers flying everywhere.
Inciting incident, if it helps, is when Rick discovers that Dan is a Helsing.
Mm-hmm.
So how is he going to? What's his rational response stage going to be? And then what is his only action?
Well, my thing with Rick, he's remained hidden for so long. He's been, co-workers with this other guy for, I don't know.
Oh, it's the blood.
A few years.
It's the drinking of the blood. That's the inciting incident.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I feel like even if he found out he knew Anne or whatever, he wouldn't be worried just because he's like, there's no way. Like, I've been hidden for so long. Like, how would they even know I'm a vampire? Until, he gets caught drinking blood. And that's when it's like their fight or flight instinct just snaps in, and that's what starts the fight. It's like they look at each other because Rick knows that he's a Helsing, and now he knows that he's a vampire. And so it's like, that's when the fight starts. And one of them, I feel like, needs to get beaten in the fight in that first fight. Maybe Helsing is a little rusty and he gets beaten and runs away.
And which is great because Helsing's really wanting to impress.
He's on the ground like beaten and bruised, and that's when the manager walks in. It's like, you're fired. And then it hard cuts to the next scene or whatever.
Yeah.
And now Rick has escaped Helsing and like is on the run. He's sort of like, oh no, like I've got to start another new life but then maybe he says, I'm tired of running. The classic, either I'm going to defeat this guy or die trying.
No, I like this job. You're not taking this job from me. Like,
yes.
That's what it needs to be.
This is my last job.
He's finally found. I like it. His one last job is he's tired of trying different things. He's finally found the one thing he's good at, which is some boring accounting thing, like some numbers crunching thing. And he's like, this is my last job. I'm not getting another one.
The phrase. Yeah.
I'm not getting another one. Oh,
I love that.
That's great.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So yeah, maybe the midpoint is, do they meet again? Maybe it's Rick coming to like finding Stan as opposed to Stan finding him and saying, making a stand and like trying to defeat. Because maybe that's the thing. It's like Rick has been on the run. Like he's always been running from these Helsings, all these hunters and stuff. And the reason he hides is because he's just like, I'm tired of like running from these people and like I just want a normal life. So this is him like finally trying to take control of his life to have a boring job. But it can't just be another fight. That's when they need to like find out that there's I guess, would the midpoint be when they find out there's a larger threat, or would that be later on?
Midpoint would be like a false victory or false defeat. So it'd be like Dan would get the one up and like catch him, like, and maybe not kill him just yet. Oh, and then that's thrown off. And okay, so he catches him. Maybe Dan thinks he killed his mom, and he's like, I didn't, trying to explain that he didn't, yada yada. And he's deducing notes from his mom's notes, and like, no, she was looking for the last vampire on Earth. He was blah 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 blah. He was doing this. This was his whole plan. We spell out the whole plan. He's like, I'm telling you, that wasn't me. It's like, well, then who was it? Lights out. Stan has arrived. And he's like, Uncle Stan? And then Uncle Stan nearly kills both of them, but Rick saves Dan, protects him, and they escape together. And so now they're both then having to work together to defeat Stan.
We need some explosions or something here. Like
all explosions. It's just entirely explosions.
Like Stan Helsing's weapon of choice is like grenades and rocket launchers.
Oh, yeah. This is full on Solo.
Yes, I guess, Solo would be the Maximalist tone for sure. Flipping and stuff like that. Yeah, I like where that's going. And then at that point, they've discovered that there's a bigger threat, especially if we've established that Dan, he's fine not continuing that family legacy. He just wanted to make his parents proud. And now that his parents are dead and he knows who did it, it kind of makes, it takes away some of the like want to kill Rick, which, and of course...
they can agree like, I'm going to kill you when this is over, but... like, I will help you take this guy down. And then he doesn't. When it's over, he's like, maybe I'll let you live a little longer.
The classic, like what The Rock says to Vin Diesel. He's like, I'll give you a head start kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And they both go
if we're going to Maximalist movies like Fast and the Furious. Oh, car chase. We can have a car chase in here somewhere. Motorcycle chase, whatever.
Oh, 100%.
It would make sense if Stan is like this super evil guy and he's a better vampire hunter than Dan, and he's a better vampire than Rick.
That's so good.
So it's like if they have to like Home Alone like a trap and lure Stan in.
You just described the third act of Nobody, which is
exactly. I was thinking about that. Yeah, which I'm so glad you finally saw that.
Movie. I didn't. I loved it way more than I thought I would.
I freaking love that movie. It's actually a big inspiration for my Pizza Time feature.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, because I feel like they would need to team up and try to outsmart him because they know they're not going to out a vampire or out hunter them. I feel like it needs to be at a location and somewhere where we can really sell the maximalist action kind of thing. Like your original, the prologue in Tokyo. That is so like visually interesting, especially if it's at like a party or like a club where there can be lots of action.
And we still do our whole thing, but our whole plan, but we just do it in Tokyo.
Yeah, bring it back. Oh, back to where Anne died. His mom.
Why? Who knows?
We have about 3 minutes left.
I think we got it. I'm ready to pitch this movie, like start to front. Front to start.
Front to start. Meaning of Life is the one that... Oh, and iPod and Meaning of Life are two things that I would love to incorporate if we can.
Oh, we have to. Who has an iPod that plays only one song because it's what pumps them up? Like maybe. No, and go. Okay, go ahead.
No, you go. You had the you.
Just because I scream louder, it's not fair. Just because I yell a lot.
You were more excited. Come on, let's go.
I'm just me. So in the prologue,
are you pitching like a Star-Lord thing where she leaves it behind for Dan?
Get ready. opening studio logo is to some dumb song we wouldn't expect. It's Anne's Pump Me Up song. She has an iPod that only has one song on it. And that's what she listens to when she hunts. And Dan knew this. He talks about it. And then in the right moment, he puts it on in like the third act or blasts it in the house in their Home Alone scene over the radios. And that's what it's her pump up music song.
Of course, it's Beastie Boys. What's the song? The Star Trek song.
Oh, no. If we're going Beastie Boys, we should do like Shaming Your Game or no. An actual badass one is Looking Down the Barrel of a Gun.
I think it either needs to be extremely badass or extremely kind of silly that we can like play the irony of it, you know?
Wait for it. You can decide from this. I actually like this one because I like the idea of Dan playing it for Rick and saying, this is my mom's favorite song. It was the only song she had on her iPod. And playing it and then listening to this, like...
He's like, it sounds like we're in an action movie or something.
Your mom was kind of a badass. This is her favorite song. Like, she walked down the aisle to this song.
It's like, yeah, she killed my brother. Yes, I love that. And the meaning of life, I think we can work that in terms of acting like the meaning of life is finding your passion and doing that, whether or not it's like what your parents want you to do. Oh! That is the timer. I didn't know it made a sound. I usually stop. Oh,
that's a horrifying, like,
that
the
was
Writers Room
so
game
loud.
show. Time to pitch your movie.
Oh my.
Time to pitch your movie.
I love this, dude. Let's bring in the focus group. Here we go.
So we were assigned the target audience to be brothers specifically in this film, so I thought who better to bring in than my own brother. He is a filmmaker, a composer. He composed the very theme to this podcast. Please welcome to the show, Mr. Ben Worley.
Hello.
Yes.
How's it going?
But he also composed a few other things for our films as well.
Yes.
Quite a few things.
of your
All
films.
of my Red Giant shorts up until, I mean, all of them, right? Which ones did you not do?
Except Darker Colors, I guess.
Oh, yeah. And then most importantly, Pizza Time, Ryan's film.
Yep.
Most importantly.
It is. I love
Ben,
that score.
we're so up here on the show. I'm going to give you our assignment that we're given from the Big Hollywood studio. Our genre is an action movie.
Amazing.
Our tone is maximalist.
Okay.
Of course, our target audience is brothers, as Seth said just 1 minute prior to this. And then our studio mandate was actually, the studio lost a bet with Nicolas Cage, and they had to offer him this role in the film, I guess before we even wrote it.
Right.
So Nick Cage will be the star of our film. And we were also given a wild card mandate. We actually phoned a friend, and Arlie, someone who you might know,
Yes.
gave us the mandate that someone had to get sucked into a vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
So,
Takes it totally seriously.
yes, I love that you weren't
You're just
surprised
processing
by that
it.
at all.
No, well, because I was distracted by the fact that Nicolas Cage, I'm definitely going to see this movie because it's Nicolas Cage. And he's in an action movie, which is feels like he does that a lot, but he really doesn't. He's not been in that many action movies recently.
And it's for brothers. And you're a brother.
And I'm a brother. And I love brothers.
Specifically, my brother and me.
The pitch is off to a great start already. We're given 5 ideas. We're going to reveal those actually at the end.
That's fine.
And if we incorporate these ideas, we get points at the end. We'll reveal them to you afterwards because I think it might be more fun that way.
Yeah.
But our film, I'm going to start off with the pitch, and then Seth's going to jump in whenever he wants. But our
No,
film...
you hand it off to me when you're ready to hand it off.
Okay, great. Our film is called One Last Job. So our film opens on black. We hear the song Looking Down the Barrel by...
Looking down the barrel of a gun. Oh, I'll just
Looking
play
Down the
it.
Barrel of a Gun by the Beastie Boys. So on black, we hear this, and then we hard cut, and it's Jamie Lee Curtis with little AirPods in, listening to this song on an iPod. She scrolls down to the iPod. We see it's the only song on the iPod.
Oh.
It's like her pump-up song. She just plays it on the way, and she's in Tokyo. She gets off a motorcycle outside of a club and walks through this club. We've got this sort of super colorful lights as people dance in slow-mo. She's on the way to something when suddenly a group of security guys see her and start opening fire, and suddenly we're in this John Wick-esque action scene in this club as Jamie Lee Curtis are fighting all these people, trying to get through. Big action scene that she makes to this back room, takes on a few guys, and there's only one guy left. He's this big bad guy. He's got this long stringy hair. I don't think we talked about what he looks like, but I'm just gonna say that that's what he looks like.
Yeah.
He looks like you, except super evil. And
That's the way to pitch the movie. The bad guy looks like you, but super evil.
His hair's straight instead of curly. So basically they have this conversation, and turns out this guy has this ancient amulet, and he's trying to find, actually, Seth, you jump in because you do better job with this.
The bad guy has the amulet?
Yeah, so she is clearly trying to, so like, boom, blah, the iPod gets like ripped out of her hand, like it's crushed by this guy. She's cornered. She's screwed. He's got the high ground, if you will, in Star Wars parlance. Okay. As we all know, having high ground means that you're going to win, ultimately, always. So she clearly is screwed. Like she's pretty much done for. And he has this amulet, and he like has cut his hand, or like she's cut him, so he's like, thanks for like doing the job for me. And he goes to drip the blood into this amulet. And clearly, this is the worst thing could ever happen. And they're in this they're in this basement of this club or something, right, Ryan? And there's this big like,
it's like back room sort of.
But there's just like crack in the ground, and it's like glowing underneath this, like,
Yeah.
And
okay, I'm into that.
He pours some of his blood into the amulet, like mixes it around, and drips the blood down into the.
We feel like something's going to happen. It's this big moment that's rising, tension's coming.
Yeah.
And then nothing happens. And he looks at it, and then she's surprised too, and she says, I guess you're not one of a kind. And he kills her. And then he looks, he like hears the police outside, and he escapes, and he's on the top of some building looking out, and he's like, where are you, other vampire in the world? Something like that. Something that says,
where is the last vampire?
Where is the last vampire?
We smash cut straight to a man sitting at a desk in a corporate office. On the desk, we see a little name tag that says Rick, and it's this man named Rick, and we
forgot the most important part.
Yes, Count Rikula.
Nope.
Sorry.
This man is Nicolas Cage.
Oh yes, I forgot. And it's Nicolas Cage, and we see him working like he's an accountant at this desk, and we jump into a voiceover, and he's like, I
wasn't always the number one regional director of sales, and so and so.
And we get a big flashback montage, and we find out that his name isn't Rick, it's Count Rikula, and he's this vampire he's been this vampire since like the 1600s in Transylvania, and he kind of he became a vampire in an older age, Nicolas Cage, current age Nicolas Cage, he's probably in the 60s, maybe late 50s. I'm not really sure what his age is now.
It doesn't matter. We all know.
Questions though, is this modern day, like made now?
Yeah, it's like all modern day.
They are now. Okay. Yeah.
This movie looks more like John Wick than it does a vampire movie.
Yes. Okay. So we sort of jump into this flashback montage with Rick having a voiceover over, and he describes that he became a vampire in his later age, and he kind of hates being a vampire. He doesn't like the taste of blood. Throughout the years, all of his friends and family have died. He feels alone. He just wants to live a normal life. But
he's not even good at being a vampire. Like he doesn't have any malicious need to kill people. He doesn't like to hunt. He just wants to be normal.
And in this montage, we see in all these different time periods, he's in Civil War. He's in, he's a hitman in like the gangster era. And he always has these one last jobs. He's like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to have a normal life. This is my one last job.
And these jobs he has are always jobs where, like, the main benefit of being a vampire, of being the most, like, useful utilitarian, like, benefit of being immortal and, unkillable is that he can, he's unkillable. He can go and be a hitman. That's why he's been, like, a soldier. He's been a hitman. He's been in all these, like, really dangerous jobs. But he hates it. He's not good at it. He's just good at not dying. That's really it.
Right. And he can, like, still be sloppy at stunts and action, but it's like it works because he doesn't want to be good at it.
100% you're feeling exactly what we're putting down.
Yeah, that's really good.
Yep. So, and then we cut back to modern day, and we see him as an accountant. He's really enjoying his life now. He's like kind of find something he's good at, which of course is something very boring and mundane. But also one of his coworkers is this guy named Dan, and we find out in this first act that he actually just lost his mom. We put two and two together when he shows Rick, who's one of his friends in the office, a picture of him and his mom, and it's Jamie Lee Curtis. And it's revealed there that her name is actually Ann Helsing, and he is Dan Helsing. and they come from a long line of vampire hunters. And so she was sort of one of the last in her line. Dan is the last of his line now, vampire hunters.
But he doesn't do it. He's never really needed to, because according to them, there's only one vampire left on the earth, and she was hunting him. But we'll learn all of this stuff over the course of time. But this is just backstory so you understand like what we're setting up.
Do you want to take it from here, Seth?
Do you want me to? I feel like I interrupted you.
No. I would love for you to take it.
Okay. Rick is kind of like, there, buddy. That's really sad. Sorry. But he now realizes this guy's a friggin' Helsing.
He recognizes Anne.
Yeah, because he's like, oh, I've met that girl before. Oh, yeah, because he says, I've actually you know, his voiceover is like, this wasn't the first time I saw that woman's face. And we flashback to, we de-age Jamie Lee Curtis to like Halloween era. And we get this awesome action sequence of the two of them fighting, or like this like chase and fight sequence, probably a car chase. And she thought he was dead and he wanted to keep it that way. And so then Dan and him like kind of bond a little bit during this time, because Rick was being really, you know, nice to him, and now is like scared, but he's kind of like, keep your enemies close, right? So
he's been at this job for what, 5-10 years? Like he's been in hiding for a while. And so he feels like he's safe. He's like, he's been here the whole time. There's no way they could figure out I'm a vampire.
And then one day, and then in the break room at some point, Dan accidentally takes a drink of Rick's coffee, and he's like, oh no, that's mine. And he's like, oh, it tastes terrible. What's in that? And Dan like just starts to put things together, and he realizes like there's blood in that. Like why was there blood in that? So then he follows.
That's not coffee.
So he follows Rick. He follows Rick home one day, and he figures out the truth, and he's like, he thinks this guy killed my mom. He thinks this is the last vampire that killed my mom. And so the idea is to then spin like, you know, first half of Act 2 is like the two of them, it's Count Rikula versus Dan Helsi. It is
there's a huge fight that breaks out in the middle of the office when Stan comes in with all of his vampire hunting gear. You know, Rick looks up from his desk, and we have this vertigo shot of him seeing Stan from the back of the office. Dan. Too many Ann names. We have Ann, we have Dan. Yeah, so he sees Dan, and then it's like fight breaks out, papers flying everywhere. It's this huge fight in this office. People are running away, and you know,
Rick wins that fight, and like
Rick, he wins and he runs away, leaving, you know, Dan on the ground, sort of broken and bruised. The manager walks in and he's like, "You're fired," and then hard cuts.
You're obviously fired. Yeah, and so then so that's the first sequence of Act 2. The second sequence, which is before the midpoint, Dan actually the idea is that, you know, Dan loses the first fight, and then by the midpoint, Dan actually gets the one up on Rick and catches him, right? So he catches him, and so then at the midpoint, we're at this point where he's like, he's got Rick in a cage, and he's like, you killed my mother, blah, blah, blah. He's like, no, I swear I didn't. He's like, yes, you did. You had all this stuff in your apartment. You were trying to collect the blood, like your blood, and find this amulet and put your blood into the amulet and blah, blah, blah. That's why you were going to Tokyo. He's like, no, I was going to Tokyo to try and figure out what the hell killed your mom, etc. And then he's like, well, if you didn't kill my mom, then who did? Lights go out. Suddenly, like, someone is here, right? And we know who it is. It's the guy, right? And then when Dan sees the guy, we recognize him from the prologue. And Dan goes, Uncle Stan? Because it turns out Stan Helsing is actually the last, like the other is a vampire, and like the worst, biggest, baddest vampire, right? And he's probably played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, if we can get him.
That would be really funny if it was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
He's a big Austrian vampire.
Really freaking funny.
Yeah.
But with long hair.
Yeah.
With gorgeous long hair.
And Dan is Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt
is Dan.
This is
Dan
definitely
Helsing.
Maximalist for sure.
Yes, we're going as Maximalist as we can get.
Yeah, it's Maximalist, so it's,
And so now we realize that Stan is there, and he is going to kill Dan and Rick, and he's mainly going to kill Rick so he can be the last vampire and put his blood into the ground and be a thing. We don't know what yet.
Yeah, and the thing about
first
Stan,
he's going to kill Dan, by the way, and then Rick saves him, and they escape successfully. So sorry, you take it, Polly. It's all you know.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about Stan is he was a Helsing that was turned into a vampire, so now he's like the ultimate hunter, but he's also the ultimate vampire. So it's like they're both sort of out of their wits. So
no, what did you say? He's a better vampire than Rick is, and a better hunter than Dan is, which is so good.
And so there's this, they sort of figure out that they need to team up to be able to defeat Stan, because of course Stan wants to be the last vampire so he can do this magical amulet and become this like big, you know, I'm thinking like this big powerful monster kaiju kind of thing, like at the end, like that's his main goal. And then of course, now that we know he's a vampire, Dan knows that he needs to defeat him, and Stan will, you know, do anything to stop.
And you know, something we didn't talk about, but so now Dan and Rick are together. Rick saved Dan's life. Dan acknowledges this, and Dan is just like, oh, he hates himself. He's like, I was never good at this hunting stuff. My mom always wished that, you know, I would carry on legacy or go hunt with her, and I sucked at it. I suck at it now. And Rick is like, dude, you don't have to be what other people think you're supposed to be. Like, I'm a vampire, and I am the best regional sales director this company has ever seen.
Yeah.
This is, and by the way, we forgot earlier, his whole thing was he was going to say, I'm not getting another job. You're not going to make me run away. This is my one last job. I am only working working here for the rest of time.
So everybody has their own one last job in their own, little way.
And so, Rick's like, you don't have to be what everyone thinks you have to be. You can be whatever you want to be. And Dan is like, right, but after this one last job where we have to kill my Uncle Stan. And so they come up with this plan to basically like trap him and Home Alone him.
They have to outsmart him because they're not going to be able to fight him.
And Polly, I'm ready on the cue whenever you're ready. You get to the right moment. Go for it.
Oh, yes. So they have to sort of make this plan. They try to lure him, because Dan's mom, Anne, died in Tokyo, and there's like a significance to, Tokyo because there's this big underworld thing that he's trying to do with the amulet. They basically Home Alone this building in downtown Tokyo and try to lure Stan there somehow. I mean, I guess just Rick being there, he is the lure to get him there. And so they Home Alone this building, and they're like sitting in this building just sort of waiting for Stan, like almost like in No Way Home as they're sitting on the, did you see Spider-Man? They're like waiting to lure these people, and they have this little moment of lull before, the fight where we sort of can see them as characters kind of dealing with this. And Dan pulls out the iPod that his mom used, and he's like, this is my mom's favorite song. She always used it to pump up before the hunts. They have these little, headphones in. They're sharing the headphones, and he presses play on the iPod.
And they both just sit and listen.
Both just sit and listen.
And he's like, this was my mom's favorite song. She used to play it for me all the time as a kid.
Back to the prologue.
Right.
And what does Rick say?
Rick's just like, man, your mom was a badass. So this was his mom's favorite. So then the idea is when he finally shows up to the place and their Home Alone plan like kicks into high gear, like all the lights go out and Stan's like, what the hell's going on? And then this starts blasting throughout the building, and they just have this all-out balls to the wall
explosions, like guns, like trying to kill him. They somehow rigged like these stakes and guns and stuff, like lots of vampire stuff, and Stan is making it through all of them. And then basically by the end we don't have it all figured out, but in this fight we want to be able to have Rick's talent of like accounting and like making spreadsheets and stuff somehow have that be like part of the fight scene as well, where he like he like coded something and he's like using those skills to be able to contribute. And like he uses that to show Dan, like, you can be whoever you want to be, and like it's gonna work out, kind of thing.
And he's like, sum equals, boom, hits the button, and it just
sum equals. And they defeat Stan before he can, there's a fake out where Rick is about to die and he's about to steal the blood, and then Dan kills his uncle. And then basically at the end, we have these two opposites. We have a Helsing and a vampire, the last living vampire. And, Dan just looks at Rick and he's like, I'm still going to kill you. He's like, but I'll give you a head start or something like that. Like, or it's like they sort of make a truce where it's like they kind of do their own thing. And
or he's like, I'm still going to kill you one day. Just kidding. And then they like high five and they sit down at their desks and they get back to work. It's like, where do you want to get lunch from? And then we like pull back as they're just goofing off, just joshing in the office. and we pull back.
They put their arm around each other, and Rick says, I've always wanted to have a brother.
I've always wanted to have a brother. Boom, freeze, credits.
Yeah.
One last job.
It just says one last job on the freezing to that.
Yeah, the title's at the end, of course.
It cuts to the end titles.
So that's our movie. Before we ask you our questions, comments, concerns, what do you got?
Okay, yeah. So first of all, are you allowed to tell me what the budget is on this?
Oh, it's anything. Maximalist. Studio wants.
It says Maximalist, so we just assume that the studio wants to spend
$6 million in every single shot, and everything's in IMAX, and everything is like insane aerial shots and like locations, like Jurassic Dominion. How it's just like every city on Earth is in the film.
Oh yeah, we will visit every city. We will blow every building in it up, and we will kill everyone there. Yep.
So first of all, you guys came to the right person. I guess Seth, I forgot to mention this when you asked me what my movies were, but I love Van Helsing. The old Van Helsing.
Okay, can I read this list to the audience? Is that okay?
The audience, you should know that when we ask our focus group, we ask them to give us a list of like their target demos so that we could pick one to use as our target demo for that specific focus group.
And what we'll often do, we'll ask for a list of them and we'll put those into the generator and have the generator spit out one of those. Funny enough, this week I forgot to put Ben's in, and so it spit out one that's in our generator as just broad from season 1, and it said brothers. And so it actually worked out really nicely that we ended up pitching this Ben. But when I asked Ben suggestions for what target audience you belong to, we often tend to do fans of blank. And I said, like, what's your favorite show or movie in the whole world? Like, what are you most obsessed with lately? And he said, some recent obsessions would probably include White Lotus. It's like, that makes sense. Then we do a sharp turn. Malcolm in the Middle. Dave, which I had to figure out was the FX show, not the Ivan Reitman, Kevin Kline film. The Mummy and Mask of Zorro.
So good.
What a stupid list. And it's so good. And he said, also Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So keeping us guessing.
I love it.
Add to that, Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman.
We forgot to, we talked about a bit early on when we're in Dan's house, like maybe it's after the funeral and they're having like, all family and friends are over and we see like a long line of Helsings, like photos on the wall, and we see a painting of Hugh Jackman as Van Helsing, the original. So it exists in that same universe.
It's actually a production still from the movie Van Helsing. Yeah.
You could also just have Hugh Jackman play Stan, and that would play just as funny to me.
Totally. Yeah.
Holy hell, he'd be an amazing Stan.
Right, especially with the long hair and like really jacked Hugh Jackman.
Yes,
like,
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
He's in the movie.
The other thing about the Van Helsing, the other one aspect of like over budget, huge vampire movies that I feel like you're missing is just one like absurd weapon like that maybe like Anne has somewhere that they find, but like because like Van Helsing had just like stupid weapons that he definitely couldn't have had for that time period, but he has like the crossbow, and like it'd be funny if there was like some sort of large Nerf gun-esque weapon, you know what I mean, that
she carries into the club and it's like pulls it off her back and is shooting at him.
Yeah
Nice.
But it shoots steaks.
Yeah,
exactly,
like meat.
Yes. A nice New York strip.
It only films steaks. It's actually it's a food photography. Okay, I'm done.
Man, but I really like it. What I like about it is that if I just saw the poster and the title, I feel like I wouldn't know it's a vampire movie until I like get into it.
Exactly.
And that's our goal. We didn't want to make a vampire. We wanted to make like a John Wick with vampires.
So we should tell you, in season 3, we've included this new thing that we are actually bringing with each episode. Ryan and I come to the table with 5 randomly generated pre-existing ideas that if we can integrate them into the story, we get an extra 2 points each. They're not mandatory, but they are there and to help us. And so this episode, the ideas that were generated to us were a horrible secret, an iPod that only plays one song, a vampire, someone getting fired from their job, and the meaning of life. And so would you say we got at least 4 out of those 5?
Yeah, you just didn't get meaning of life, but I don't really know that you could, other than Nick Cage talks about.
What if you just?
I think we tried to hit on that as if like the meaning of their lives or like their destiny is like to be a vampire or be a vampire hunter, and truly like the meaning of their life is to like find their passion and do that. Like we tried to do that, but and
he's like, right now my passion is killing my uncle.
I really like that aspect of that, like Nick Cage isn't an action hero in it. I think that's brilliantly funny, and I love like that dynamic of him trying the whole time to be more boring and trying to like settle everything down. Everything needs to be de-escalated. I'm just trying to de-escalate everything here.
Yeah.
So you'd say
vampires physically, he has to eat blood, right? Like he physically.
We forgot that. So he just puts. Sorry, go, Paulie.
No, I mean, there's a lot of bits that we talked about that we forgot about, but like at home and stuff, he mixes like red Kool-Aid with blood and stuff. Like we talked about the joke where it says blood sucks, like not suck blood, but blood sucks. Like he's not a fan of the taste, but he has to drink it to survive. So he's always mixing different flavors into
it's like
it to
people.
try to cover
It's like people who get a mocha frappuccino and call it coffee. Like everything is like mocha frappuccino to coffee is his food to blood. It's just like there's a tiny bit in there.
Where does he get the blood?
Butcher shops.
Yeah, he's like buying like animal blood and stuff for like I don't know.
They can eat animal blood?
I have no idea. We're not vampire scholars.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, I guess.
I am. What's that, sir? We whip pan over to this man with a monocle drinking blood. I'm a vampire scholar.
As you say.
I went to Vampire University in Transylvania. Also, this is my accent. Okay, I'm going to ask you some questions now.
I like when anyone says, this is my accent.
This is my accent.
Okay, these are very important questions we have for you today, Ben, for you to evaluate the
we got 5 out of 5 ideas, right? Because we did
Meaning of Life. Would you say we hit that, Ben?
Yeah, can you tell me them one more time? List them.
Yeah. Horrible secret, iPod that only plays one song, a vampire, fired from job, the meaning of life.
Yeah.
We also forgot, that when they kill the vampire, they suck him up with a vacuum cleaner, with a dustbuster. When they kill him at the end, he turns to ash.
Sorry, that happens in our first scene. We were going to have basically...
Oh, he kills the last vampire in that scene. That's right. It's in the opening scene.
This is, sorry, Ben. And
he kills what he thinks is one of the last,
Stan kills another vampire before Jamie Lee Curtis gets in there, and they turn to ash.
What if he had a remote or something and triggered a open window that just spotlights the dude and he gets hit with sunlight? You know what I mean?
Nice.
Love that. That's a great idea.
He doesn't stab because they turn to ash when they burn from the sunlight.
You're right.
That's good.
And then an assistant comes up, a dude in a suit comes up and dust busts it.
There's a janitor that they have.
Yeah. An American janitor, a custodian. Okay. In Tokyo. Yeah.
In Tokyo. That he's oh, I'll get that. No problem, guys.
So anyways, with that all out of the way, I'm going to ask some questions. Rank these 1 to 10. First question, how likely are you to see this movie? 1 to 10.
Have I seen a trailer or poster?
Just from this idea, how likely are you to see what we've presented you?
From what I know, 10.
Nice. How likely are you to recommend this movie to a friend?
Oh, that's a good one. I feel 9 or 10. Probably 10. Because that would be that'd be a hot item movie. I feel all of my friends would talk about. It's we already talk about Nick Cage movies, but that would be holy crap, have you seen this trailer for this Nick Cage movie?
Pig looked good, but have you seen One Last Job? I
couldn't finish Pig, by the way. I was too bored. Continue.
You were wishing it was Van Helsing the whole time. Okay.
Yeah, you kept waiting for Van Helsing to show up at Pig. Why didn't he?
So 1 to 10, how well did we adhere to our assignment, which was a maximalist action movie for brothers starring Nicolas Cage where someone got sucked into a vacuum cleaner?
Yes. 10.
Wow.
Where someone got sucked into a vacuum cleaner.
Rank our overall idea from 1 to 10.
We already sold our movie. This is amazing. Go ahead.
I'm trying. I don't just want to give all 10s. This feels wrong, but I can't think of anything that I would really want to change. It seems like such a clean idea, and really all there's left to do is play around with little bits to add in and sprinkle. So it's feels like the bones of it 10 for sure. It's if a director took this same script and did it really badly, then it could be not a 10 at all. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But if it sounds exactly like you just imagined it based on our pitch.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, the perfect 50.
We got the perfect 40 plus all 5 of our ideas were implemented. This is the perfect 50. This is unprecedented, the highest we've ever gotten.
Can we get some claps?
Yeah, this is 100%. This is the first
this is so exciting.
Film ever sold on Writer's Room Game Show. The studio has bought this movie.
What?
Yeah. Well, first time we ever implemented this point system.
I think we need to think about the taste of our focus group a lot more often for these films.
I do. I think we need to find a way to have Ben always be the one we pitch to.
Yeah, I'm also I'm a big sucker for Edgar Wright could direct this. It's the right kind of silliness, but mixed with seriousness that is dead on for me. So that
I also
you nailed
think,
it. But also
Akiva Schaffer or the Lonely Island guys also.
It's super absurd, but that's part of why it's fun to watch. And
you got to have someone very meta. It would be able to make a heartfelt
Lord and Miller once again.
Yes,
reference.
Yeah, someone that could make it into it feels like a real emotional journey, but it's on its face, it's just ridiculous. There's no way. It's like 21 Jump Street. It just should not be this good and this impactful emotionally, but it totally is. Yeah. So, and I'm just also you totally had me with the crack in the ground with the light that. I'm all about that crap.
You love cracks in the ground with light
in movies that just makes no sense. And I also like that it doesn't ever come back. It's it's one.
Oh, it does. That's where they're fighting is around that crack.
And the end scene, we would have something like that happen in Tokyo when there's sort of a.
Why is it Tokyo? Does it have to be Tokyo?
We just didn't. We wanted to do something that didn't feel like Transylvanian, old vampire.
We wanted to feel like John Wick.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right, yeah, modern.
Yeah, neon and lots of reflective surfaces.
Well, do you even know what Transylvania looks like now? It could be just as modern.
Well, it's in Tokyo. It's Club Transylvania. The Writer's Room Game Show with me, Ryan Polly, and Seth Worley. Executive produced by Grant Wakefield at Weekend Video and Ann Fogerty at Plot Devices. Edited to perfection by Rene Gomez. Our art is by your buddy, Meg Lewis, and our face-melting music is by Ben Worley. The Writer's Room Game Show is a Weekend Video production in association with Plot Devices. Learn more about Weekend Video at weekend.video and check out writersroomgame.show to listen to all of our episodes and suggest your own prompts for future shows. And don't forget to rate and review our show on Apple Podcasts. It really helps our show out a lot. See you in the next one.